Some observations. As of this writing, I am approaching 30 years in the automotive business. I began training F&I managers in 1995, and during that period of time, I've never found the perfect close. I've never found anyone that can inspire the customer to purchase products 100% of the time. That said, I'm going to share with you what I have learned about the most successful finance managers that I personally worked with and learned from over the years. Their behaviors were not able to persuade 100% of their customers either, but they consistently had higher numbers than their peers. Just like a professional athlete, they didn't win every game throughout their career, but they still outperformed everyone else. They added value to everything they did by exuding professionalism. They created a culture of team with their coworkers. In some cases, they established harmony where it did not previously exist before. I remember working with a group of 14 F&I managers back in 2002. 2 of the 14 within the group employed these traits. They had the most consistent numbers in the group. They had the highest VSC penetration in the group too. 60 to 65% on average, and arguably one of the hardest brands to sell VSCs in, Honda. These guys never fussed about anything. They just came to work and they solved problems. Their GM loved them. So did the rest of the dealership, even the accounting department. I remember training them on menu presentations and word tracks. In large part, they just pacified me. Yes, they were model students and they would role play on word tracks, but they didn't actually use word tracks. They didn't have to. Their behaviors leading up to the customer's decision solicited yes early in the transaction. They didn't need to practice overcoming objections because there weren't that many. If the customer said no, then no problem. Which seems counterintuitive, I'm sure, but many said yes early and often, and those that were on the fence would usually buy with just a little bit more data. Yes, data, not scare tactics or hard closes. Their approach was more like speaking with a good doctor or a good lawyer, sharing valuable information and opinions with the goal of allowing the patient or the client to make an informed, intelligent decision. No extra push was needed, just clear, intelligent communication. The push is something that we create within ourselves out of our need to chase our goals. This is great in many areas of life, but too much can cause challenges in the box. If your customer begins to feel the push, they will begin pushing too. And this is where we often lose them. This is where we hear customers say, "Nope. Can I think about it? Do I have to decide today?" Therefore, if we want to communicate with them, we must get our goals aligned before we interact with our customers. We must know what our agenda is. We must identify what it is that we are actually pushing for. Basically, are we trying to help the customer, or are we just trying to help ourselves? In Latin, they have a phrase, cui bono, which translates in English as who benefits. So be clear and ask yourself, cui bono, who benefits if the customer buys your product? If the customer feels like a victim because they don't understand something or they feel like you're trying to scare them, they'll pull away. If, instead, your conversation is about creating the best ownership experience, then some people that wouldn't normally listen to you will decide to tune in. Basically, our intent is super important here because people feel it. So, we have to get our intent right before we engage with them. If you're trying to do something to them, like sell them product X, it will feel pushy. But if your goal is for them to have a great experience, it will feel completely different. Creating this difference is what will separate you from being just another salesperson.